our first webinar of this year, first public webinar with a very intriguing title, Creating Pharma's Digital and Commercial DNA. Sounds very exciting indeed. And today, actually, I can welcome 3 speakers instead of 5, because unfortunately Daria and Mark couldn't join us. But anyway, the conversation will certainly be a very interesting and nice one. And first of all, would like to welcome our 2 fellow speakers. So first of all, Ricardo Marques from Sandoz. Hi, Ricardo, how are you?
Hi there. Good afternoon, everyone.
Daniel Vertessy from Aspen Pharma. Daniel, how's it going?
Hi Dario, doing good.
And Shay Weiss from Novartis, head of Novartis DevOps. Hi Shay, same question for you as well.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Everything's well.
Fantastic. So let's deep dive into the conversation. And the first question which we prepared for you gentlemen today is let's actually set the foundations and define what is our current digital and commercial DNA looking compared to the last 24 months when we faced the first COVID escalation. And let's start with you, Shay, if you have nothing against.
Yeah, sure. So a few things about this. So one, I read it somewhere, I don't remember where, but someone says somewhere that the future happened very slowly, and then it happened all at once. So I think this is something that can relate to what is happening, because during this COVID and during the last 2 years in the digital, so companies changed the way they work across all region and how they do business. Everything was changed, and also there was a very big acceleration of the digital from a customer perspective, supply chain perspective, operation. Everything was like a jump in 3-4 years for the future in the last 2 years. And also, I think other thing that is happening is something like technology function, like IT function, has moved from being enablers into driver's seat. So it's mean like the COE or the board of executive is coming to the IT and tell to the technology division of the companies, you wanted a place on the table, you wanted to sit on the table all the time. So now you have a seat on the table, and now please come and lead us and bring the future to the company. And we can see also that the technology strategy is becoming a very important part of what is happening in the company. So it's not only, it's business strategy, but the technology strategy is a very important part of where the company want to go. And I think the last thing that I can add on this, it's about, we can see that the founding from technology and from digital initiation was increased dramatically in the last 2 years. So this is my 10 cents on this.
Thank you, Shay. I think that we can all agree that different management functions actually became very interconnected, right? And now there is no clear separation between digital, marketing, commercial, IT. It's very, very much connected with each other. Ricardo, same question for you. And based on Shay's impressions, do you agree, or where our industry is moving and what is the current state of it?
No, totally agree. I think this has been an impressive jump, and we all learned about this acceleration and the big push that we all faced. But I think that in the end, I think we've out of this pandemic or starting to get out. I think we are getting with a stronger DNA, and like Shay mentioned, it's not that we have digital as an add-on, but it's already part of our core. And I think this has been perceived by everyone like a growth driver, and I think that is why it is being on taking also a little bit of this driving seat, as you were mentioning. I think also that it's I think this one of the outputs, and probably linking it to the customer side of it. I think the outputs of this acceleration is that we are now we have put the customers more and more at the center of our activities, and I think that all the companies already were having this mantra and this objective, at least from 10 years ago. But I think that during the pandemic there was a clear alignment in terms of the objectives, both from the companies and also from the customers. and I think that then this was an additional boost also to accelerate all of this transformation and the changes. So I think we are going to come out of this with a more aligned view and hopefully more in sync also with the desires from and meeting the requirements from our key stakeholders, our customers.
Thank you, Ricardo. Daniel?
I would catch what Shay mentioned at the very end, that digital positions and digital, how we have digital. And I want to take a much more pragmatic point from my point of view. We don't need digital managers anymore. Digital managers used to be at the very beginning of our digital transformation, even before COVID struck, and that's when everyone, let's say, was looking at them and asking them how to do digital. Right now, everyone in the organization needs to look to be a bit digital, to know a bit digital, and the same goes for commercial. So in the pandemic, of course, we went digital. Of course, marketing went digital, and the commercial people, sales, and our colleagues from supply chain and regulatory, everyone went more digital, and big companies, supplier companies, were at the brink of it. Some profited a lot because of the digital services that they could give us. But let's face it, at the core of our business, we are still humans and we are still selling to humans. So when you ask me, how did the 24 months since the pandemic started affect us? It quite well showed us that even though digital needs to be there in our everyday life, but people still need to be cared about, doctors and HCPs need to be visited, and at the end of the day, pens need to still be given to our customers, because that's what drives business, the connections with them, and having a face-to-face interaction once in a while. That's what I think, very, very pragmatically.
That's actually a very interesting angle, Daniel, which you mentioned, and maybe we can also add and build on that with the fact that we see that many pharma companies and the role within that the chief digital officer is not dealing with the typical digital stuff, but they are rather dealing with digital therapeutics, and for instance, for some new corners of the business development and the digital aspect, but not clearly about the digital transformation, right? So certainly an interesting angle and very provocative, if I can say. Not many people would say that, but I certainly agree. Anyone would like to build on what Daniel mentioned?
No, I can relate to this. I also agree.
Yeah.
Before we start with our next question, I would like to encourage our audience, if you have any questions, please raise them, and we will pick the best questions and ask our fellow panelists. So next question, 24 months after the whole pandemic started, we are certainly smarter, but what are actually nowadays the typical commercial and digital gaps which we face, and how to fill and eliminate those gaps? Ricardo, let's start with you.
Okay, so this is a tough one. I think there are many different areas that we are progressing, right? So I think we are evolving, and we are in the direction to become more proficient. I would say that I would highlight one, and it's around the how do we deal with the information that we generate, and actually how we take advantage of this source of competitive differentiation. And so I think that most of the companies right now, we all have the key platforms in place. So we have the CRMs, we have the marketing automation, we have order management if we need it, we have the portal. So I think that the ecosystem, and we were discussing about it, is there. And so I think it's the key challenges and are coming from three main areas related to the data piece. So the first one is the nature of the data. So I think that we are dealing with internal, but now we are also going to the external side of the data about our customers, and so this increases the complexity dramatically. The second topic is around the amount of data that we are able to generate. And if we just think about it, what was a visit in the beginning when the Viva was launched, for instance, basically we registered a visit against a specific physician with the promotional grids, and there was not much more to it. Today we have the usage of the e-detail, what were the texts behind it, the page views, the time spent, the reactions, areas of interest, surveys. So it's a completely different thing that we are operating, and I think that we right now we have an explosion of data availability. But this explosion then leads to the third topic, that is actually the ability to understand the cause effect of the different of these different elements. So we don't only need to store the data, but then we also need to develop the right environments to apply advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, that many people see as the silver bullet. I'm happy to discuss that, but I think that having actually this environment and creating the set environment to explore and take the right insights, I think this will be one of the key challenges as we move forward.
Thank you, Ricardo. Daniel?
I really can relate to that. And there was a startupper whom I know saying that data is not the new oil. Data is the new raw material. You still need to draw the information from it. And information and insights, when you come to think of it, are really the new oil. To do this, there's various ways. Of course, you can have the biorobots, manpower, looking through each and every one of the rows of an Excel sheet and trying to find the trends in it. But there is, of course, nowadays the artificial intelligence and the computer language processing possibilities, which at the end will help you have a better and easier understanding of it. And you are doing that. That's one of the gaps that I see. You need to be really, really careful in finding the right balance between having very smart tools and having the smart people behind it, because there's another gap. One is technological, so these tools are evolving, and many companies are developing the. There's more and more. This is what we call right now next best actions or market insights. Technologies that allow you to see this is one place where I see a gap still. And then the other gap is change management. It's something that I often say must not be underestimated, because even though you have the smartest tool and the fastest Ferrari, if you don't have a driver, you don't have a Max Verstappen or someone who would drive it, you would crash it into the first wall. So having people who are able and capable and willing to drive the Ferrari and not drive the Suzuki, or I don't want to, no offense on anyone, but the old car that you would drive because you're comfortable with it and you're comfortable with it going slow. Now, this change is something where I can see a huge gap right now, at least from my experience in the commercial and digital world.
Nice one, Daniel. Nice one. Shay?
Yeah, I read it. It's really interesting because there is also technology and business together. So it's like hearing the both sides of the thing. So I want to take it a bit to the area of the technology from what I see or what I think anyway. In the last 2 years, there is we run fast. All the organizations trying to adopt as much as possible new solutions. And I think it's the kind of the gap that was created is like a technology debt. because we have a lot of new tools, a lot of things that was implemented really fast, a lot of new technology was in try and fail, and we need to take it to the next level of enterprise scale and enterprise stability. And I think this is a part of the gap that was created in the last 2 years as part of try, fail fast, and run fast in order to align to the business need and to align to the change, because the COVID didn't happen in 10 years. It's happened in 2-3 months. Everything was changed. So everything was need to be very fast. And also, as continue to this, looking forward, because I can see in a lot of organization there is a lot of initiation, technology initiation all at once. Try and then to focus what is the important technology initiation, what can bring more value, what it's just nice to have, what are you going to think it might be good value in the future you want to try, but focus on the right strategic initiation from technology, because there is a lot of things that you can do.
Thank you, Shay. We received an interesting question from the audience, which I would like to raise, and this is: what are your recommendations for the most effective digital engagement to reach the customer? I think, from my perspective, a very generic question, because there's no profile behind, no customer profiling, no other data, right? But please, gentlemen, what's your opinion about this question? Who would like to go first? Daniel?
It's definitely a question worth asking, and I see when you ask such a question, I see that in any organization people tend to freeze, and they tend to start listing marketing or business collaboration or even big projects, product launches that went well and which also failed well sometimes. But no one ever thinks about what is a success when it comes to smaller initiatives. And even though we don't expect our organizations to be able, because we're big pharma, we're slow, we're mammoths in some ways, and we're definitely not the quickest moving industry in the world. So we don't expect ourselves to be able to right away come up with a very good KPI, which will be a fit for all. But still, when it comes to what's the most profitable, or what's the most successful, we tend to see the ones where we can show up a number. We can always think about, and we have something to compare it with. So I would, whatever it is that you do, I would suggest and encourage you to find a baseline and find the standard that you have been doing until now. Try to find a good KPI that you would be measuring, a number, and hopefully not a very vague one. And when you run your next campaign, whatever it might be, or next project, try to compare it with it. And if you need to make a transformation of data, so linking a specific KPI to another, be it sales to conversion rate, or just easy examples like this, it's the way to go, I would say. That's when you would see it profitable, you would see it successful.
Thank you, Daniel. Ricardo, Shay, anything to add? You're muted, Ricardo. No? Maybe in the meantime, Shay can start.
Yeah, I will continue what you said before, because it's quite a generalist question about the engagement. So it's really per segment and per industry, but I will go for the area that you need to try to understand what your customer is looking for. If it's young people, older people, what kind of environment they are acting in, and according to this to adjust your act.
Correct. Let's try with Ricardo if your microphone is working.
It's working. I think it's
Yeah.
sorted out, right? Okay, super. No, I agree. I think the right customer engagement. It's a broad question, but it always starts with the customer that you are that you have in front of you, or the segments, or how do you slice and dice your customer pool. So I think we have. I think there are different ways of looking at it, but definitely looking at what is the digital affinity, and in terms of what are the channels usage more than preferences, because sometimes preference might lead also to some different conclusions, but actually what are the usage of the different channels from our customers, and then also understanding the attitudes of and behaviors. This will actually allow you to customize and to personalize the engagement. So I would say that in an ideal world, the best customer engagement will be a personalized one, so one that goes in the direction of the expectations of your customers. And this having this segmentation approach, this will allow you, or at least getting you closer to that. And then I totally relate to the point that Daniel was mentioning before regarding the analytics, and so having some metrics that you can actually compare how you are performing. And so some companies use customer engagement index, customer engagement score, but it has to do with the activities that you are proposing, that you are pushing, the activities that physicians are pulling from you, and then also the feedback that you are receiving. And so if you are able to combine this and have a view from the customers, I think this will put you in a better position to have the right customer engagement model.
Thank you. Next question. What is actually the role of the medical or sales rep, however we would like to call him, in this new brave digital world, and how this might even change in the future? Let's start with you, Daniel, this time.
I think this is very easy to understand, to answer. And the answer is quite simple, is understanding the market. Is as a sales representative or a medical on the field where you're entrenched every single day, or well, in Corona, from home, you're entrenched every single day with discussions with customers, trying to get them either to buy or to prescribe or to at least know anything about your product. Your most biggest tool is knowledge, is information. But here's the problem, which Shay already mentioned. There's too much information. And Ricardo, you also said that there's a data explosion here. So how can we make this digestible? And that's basically probably the biggest role, medical as well as sales, from, of course, different angles. But being able to digest, to translate, and here's where tools come in handy, of course, digest and transform the data that hits you every single day from every channel that you can imagine, into some kind of insights, which are also actionable insights and measurable insights. So it would, at the end of the day, for me, if I would be out in the field, that makes sense to perhaps even 50% of my time spending it in front of a computer with data on it and trying to understand which are my most valuable customers, which are my most profitable products, having a clear-cut directive, not going just out to be on the fresh air, but having very specific and not volume, but not quality, but not quantity, but quality. Not volume, but valuable interactions with the customers. That's my answer. I think Dario is right now having
Frozen.
difficulties.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Maybe I can take the and head to what Daniel you've mentioned. I think that so I believe that the sales rep plays an absolutely key role, and so looking at this hybrid engagement as we call it, I think this is definitely the way to go, because it's the human to human that in the end will prevail and will lead to this to building trust amongst the different stakeholders. I think that maybe to add, because I totally see the point around the data and having this infusion of insights and being able to act on those. But I think that also one thing that probably with the pandemic changed is that hopefully for many companies this fear of digital was probably a little bit away, and then actually the sales forces see the value of the digital channels, and so for me they are also a key ambassador for all the channels and all the tools that we have made available. So I think that when we look at customer engagement, we need to look at it from an integrated perspective, and actually the sales rep play a super key role in this sense of creating the awareness about the channels and about the solutions that we have, because otherwise it will be entrenched somewhere in the net, in the internet, and no one will actually have access. So I think this role is actually very, very important. Maybe just as a bit of a provocation, I think that sometimes, and I believe that reps are already pretty much into this mode. If we look at the sales force and if we look at the composition of the sales force, I think that probably one role that is changing dramatically is the role of the first line sales manager right now. And I think that this might be also a good discussion, a good reflection of how what is the impact in their role. But Shay.
I think I can really agree with what both of you are saying, because I guess you know also same as me that before the COVID, so pharmaceutical company was heavily relied on the face-to-face sales reps and sales force, and how it working as a very big and important part of the revenue of the company. And once once COVID came, so it's like in 2 or 3 months we're doing 180 degrees change and going into virtual communication approach, and now and then everything going to online. But need to be very careful with this, to say that now we can do everything online, because it's like they're really saying like the domain fallacy. It's mean you have a domain in your nice hotel, and you can easily replace this domain with some electronic key, but the domain have a lot of other added value beside of just opening the door. And this is the same as sales rep. It's like the face of the company that is very important. So as it will go further forward, I see it, so they're going to be hybrid. So they will continue to do virtual interaction and also a face-to-face interaction. It will be hybrid based, because sometimes it's better to make a virtual because it's faster, it's easier, and you don't really need to meet face-to-face. And sometimes you do need to face-to-face, so it's going to be virtual. Also, it will be hybrid. Also, it will be hybrid because we don't know if and when a next major wave will come, and the company need to be ready to shift from hybrid to virtual or from hybrid to face-to-face according to what will happen. And what I do see that the sales reps will be much more tech savvy as going forward. So they will need to know how to build a brand, as you said, how to learn about the customers and the data of the customers and learn about this, how to deliver the right message, how to use the right virtual tools to the right needs. So this is how I see how the sales rep evolve.
Thank you very much, and sorry for the small technical issues, but somehow my internet stopped to work, so but I'm back, which is quite good, right? Okay, I suppose everyone answered on this particular third question, so we can move forward to our next one, which is how to measure the success of the digital and commercial journey. And I think this is maybe the toughest one, because frankly speaking, I recently hear very often that let's kill the dashboard. But what does it mean? I mean, do we really have to kill the dashboard, or do we maybe have to look after the proper data, which we maybe don't know? Gentlemen, who would like to start first? Shay, you are laughing, so please go ahead.
No, I will try. So there are two things. Like I think there are two things anyway. One is the basic, like active usage metric, user engagement, user taking part of the activity that you are running, adoption, etc. So all the basic measurement. But what I think is the best way to measure success, and I also coming from the area of the technology of the things. One is that by your company will be seen as a strong technology leader in the markets, because today we are going into technology, we are going into advancement and achievement, and we talked before that the technology has moved from enabler into moving adoption and helping in the strategic building of the company. So once a company will be seen outside as a strong technology leader in their field, so I think this is something that will help to measure the success of the digital. Another thing is if the organization can be a fast adopter for the business need. So it means if now there's going to be a new thing that is coming, new business need, something that is shifting the model end to end, how much fast the organization will be able to adopt this need and this change and support it and help with this. So this is what I think anyway on this.
Thank you, Shay. Ricardo?
I totally relate to the element of flexibility. This is something that we were in some cases painfully aware of during the last pandemic. So I think this is something that we need all to be ready for the next shift. But I think that in the end we are serving, and the commercial journey starts and ends with our customers, serving our customers and to better fulfill the patient needs. So when I think about this question that you made around to measure the success of our commercial journey, then for me it's always on the customer feedback, and if we are able or not to build this trust amongst among the different stakeholders. So I think that from our end, we are making this as a strategic priority. So actually becoming obsessed in terms of collecting the feedback, and then be able also to take decisions based on the voice of the customer. So again, different ways of measuring it, but I think it is important to measure consistently and on a regular basis, so that we can then draw the corrective actions.
Thank you. And Daniel?
I can relate to what you, Ricardo, were saying about constantly and continuously measuring it. But coming to your question, Dario, about kill the dashboard. I'm probably the youngest between us, but I still remember from my trainee years when I used to be the trainee who would every month download, analyze, and then put it into dashboards, IMS data as it was, printing it, taking it to managers, taking it up to all the way to the CEO to give them a look at the market at that moment. That's what we used to call dashboarding, right? It used to be a thick folder with lots and lots of information, and lots of information which probably doesn't mean too much to anyone, and probably those trees who which gave the paper were cut down because of nothing. Those dashboards, let's call them, were thrown out after a day or two. No one wants to read these kind of dashboards or reports. But let's not kill the whole dashboard. I'm very grateful to any colleague of mine who comes to me and says, hey, listen, here are the top 3 or 5 KPIs or indicators, whatever they might be, which might be interesting to you. And that's where I can relate very much to Ricardo, because we need to continuously track these. The important ones are the ones we need to keep. The other one are the ones that we need to kill. More or less a year ago, when the pandemic was at its peak in Germany, we started looking at data from a completely different point of view, or at least I have been starting to look at the data, and I have not looked at every single product, every single market that we have and we are active in. I just look at the specifics and track those specific markets in a way which in 5 minutes daily gives me an overview of what is happening there. And of course, it's easier said than done. But at the end of the day, that's also dashboarding, and dashboarding is good, just in a smart way.
Exactly, absolutely, and fully agree. Last question, based on our entire conversation, is it possible from every one of you to propose the biggest upcoming digital and commercial trends for this year? Who would like to start with this very tough question?
Maybe I can give it a go. I think that so, and this is also linked with the previous question around the dashboards and the how the information is distilled and provide this actionable insights. So I think that something that has been already a lot on the radar, and it's around this how do we pass this information to the Salesforce? Something that is not necessarily the next best section and some recommendation, but actually looking at the entire set of data and then being able to select what is relevant and start to provide these insights. So a kind of virtual assistant to the Salesforce. I think this is something that is becoming a reality in some of the areas, especially those that are data rich. So I think that this will be more and more a reality as we move forward, and also because I think this is where the teams will actually see the value of all the information that they are also contributing and collecting. And in a way, I see the CRM systems that typically was the key system that the Salesforce was interacting to as more of a backbone. That then we need to have multiple add-ons, but all of these backbones, they need to talk, and so this kind of virtual assistance where this information is then processed, and we actually create also a systematic way of looking at the information. I think it will be key, because in big organization, big markets, then we have large sales forces that will have different capabilities to actually look at this information. So this will be an extremely good add-on to what we have already.
Thank you, Ricardo. Daniel?
I can agree to it, even though I might want to say that this is, yes, underway. There are fantastic and very intelligent tools and solutions out there already. More and more, they are getting smarter and smarter. It's not there yet, but when it comes to an assistant, that would be great, of course, but the assistant, does it have, and do our people trust that assistant? That's a big question. When it comes to the biggest trends and who will be the most successful in these trends, I think the ones who can learn from history. I think this is something that it's not only in pharma, and it's not only in the professional life, but also in the personal life, something that we should be aiming for. it struck me quite hard when I read an article about how similar our pandemic situation right now is to the pandemic situation at the beginning of the 20th century, before the First World War, when we had after the First World War, we had a major pandemic and the Spanish flu, and millions died. There were waves and waves of the pandemic. And what happened afterwards? Of course, there was a revolution. There was a big increase in spending, something that we're also seeing right now. And I think that the ones who can ride that wave and can learn from history and learn also from recent history, so what happened in this pandemic, and looking in the future, perhaps also setting trends on what will be happening, whatever those trends might be. But this already is a trend of setting these trends. Those will be the winners. And I don't want to come up with a very easy example, but still, the way that Mark Zuckerberg is now riding this wave and going into this metaverse that he's trying to create, it might be complete dream for him, but the dream is sooner or later becoming a reality. And why is he successful? Because he sees a trend. And for us in pharma, it's of course much smaller trends, but if we are capable of realizing and driving this change in any way, that's going to be a major success.
Thank you, Daniel. And Shay, final words.
Yeah, so again, I agree with everything that was said till now. I can really relate to this. What I can add to what was saying till now is one about, I think we will see organization, as in the last 2 years, it was more and more customer focused even from the past. We will see a major change in the organization setup and way of working by focusing on customer agility and speed. And supporting the technology transformation in the area, in the shape and how the organization are built and work. And we see it more and more in the let's say in the near future across all organizations. Organizations understand that they need to shift from doing what we are doing for more customer focus, more value. Everything you are doing should be connected to the customer value. And it's been understandable on all the organization level, and now it will be transformed into organization transformation that will happen all across around this. Another thing is, we talk about it a lot in this call about the data, all the data that is being created by all those digital assets and all this information. So more and more, it already exists, but even more and more into 360 customer view, using the tools, also leverage more and more the AI and creating insight about the work that we are doing, and using more and more tools to support what we are doing in the revenue. And another thing that is coming, and also just have been discussed now, it's all the area of the virtual world, is the metaverse, and there is other areas around this, but it will come and come strong. And I think because it's the new buzzword now, so a lot of company will invest this year. I guess it will be another 3 years still. It will be very mature to do something, but it will be invested heavily in the next year, and we will see more and more companies trying to use these new capabilities.
Fully agree. Fully agree. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for this great conversation. We will publish this webinar on our official YouTube channel as well. So again, thank you, and hopefully to see you in person in our May event in Dubrovnik. So thank you very much, and take very good care.
Thank you very much. Thank you.